everyone. Good to be back in the series of presentations on self-development. In this session, I'll be touching on the finer aspects of making the transition from college to career. A few words about me. I have more than 3 decades of professional experience, of which 2+ decades was in the armed forces of the Indian Army and a decade in the corporate in which I have headed the HR, the operations, and the administration and security of 4 different industries. So let's get down to the content proper. So 2 aspects that I will be discussing with you here. One is the importance of a workplace attitude, which takes a very important role in your life henceforth. So far, for the 2 decades plus that you've been in the academics, you had the fun, the life that you wanted, and you've been tested for whatever that knowledge that you have gained. But when it comes to workplace, more than your knowledge and skill, it is the attitude that matters, and that's attitude that will take you ahead, and that's attitude that will be the major factor behind the success that you're going to be in your career. Because henceforth, 3 decades more or 4 decades or 5 decades, depending on when you want to retire, you will have to make a very successful career out of it. And attitude plays a great place. We'll connect with the college to career and ultimate transition. And why it's ultimate transition, I already told you, because this is a major transition from academics to your workplace, the real world that you're going to move to. So why attitude? What's so important about attitude? So the past, you have actually gained immense knowledge. This knowledge is phenomenal. It's very important. It's up to date. And this knowledge needs to be applied now when you go into a career. How to apply this knowledge, the theoretical knowledge that you've gained, and how you apply that knowledge is the skill that you have. I'll just give you a very quick example. Let's say that you are required to do some analytics. Your skill depends on what are the analytical software tools that you're aware of, that you are very competent enough to handle. It also means that you could be perhaps using an Excel sheet and using it as an analytical tool, which is also fine. Some companies still depend on it. The skill is that aspect of how you are able to convert that knowledge into effective tools so that you're able to produce results that is required from the company that you're going to work for. Even if you've taken up as an entrepreneur, when you go, you still need to have these skills of the knowledge that you've gained to convert your business. So for all of this, the attitude matters. Your knowledge and skill are something that is an essential tool, but it's attitude which matters, because the knowledge and skill can be applied only if you interact with people, interact with your customers, interact with your vendors, interact with your peers, interact with your bosses, your company, everybody, your customers, everybody. When you interact, it's a people skill that's there. And then in people skill, your attitude matters a lot. And that's why attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. So keeping that in mind, let's see how we need to handle the other aspects of a transition from college to a career. First is the application of knowledge. We've already mentioned upon this that your application of your knowledge is vast. And today you are among the generation in which your use of internet, your use of technology and the social media is far more superior than anybody else in the workplace. So use that as a leverage to do better, to excel in that workplace that you are going to be. If there is any information that is needed, any skill that is needed, it's all available and you know best how to use it. Make use of that. And an application of knowledge has to be practical. Now, this is one aspect you must remember. You may have learned a theory. You can't template the theory into your workplace straight away. It needs to be modified to the requirements of the workplace. So understand that. Then you need to understand the culture of the place that you're going to work with. Every workplace is like an individual person. Every company has got a personality of its own. You need to understand what is that personality, and only then you'll be able to blend in well with that company. When I say culture, it could be the way that the company has formed over the years. It could be a company which is hierarchical. It has come for many years, for many decades it has been present. So there will be people there who are a little more formal, little more conservative in the way that they do. There are exceptions, of course, but I'm just saying generally that is kind. There are companies that would have raised themselves as a startup in the 90s, in the 2000s, and so these are younger companies. And the average age of these companies would be between the 30s and 40s. They have a very different culture. And the companies which has stood up in the last 10 years will have an entirely different culture. So you need to understand what is the culture and what are you comfortable working with. I'm sure you would have taken that call. If not, please go to the website and understand what is the culture about. Speak to the people in that company, speak to somebody who's worked in the company to understand the culture. And if you feel that you're the right fit there, go ahead. Even if you feel that you're not right fit there, you must have the adaptability to change yourself so that you are in a culture fit. In fact, that's a quality that you must have, that you should be adaptable enough to take in the culture of the company that you're going to work for. It could be a regional company, it could be a global company, and they all have different characteristics. You need to understand that and move in there. The next is very important, is workplace decorum. The decorum that you had while you were in the academics was different. It was more fun. It was what you're being told to do. And it was something very easy, in fact. But when you go to the workplace decorum, a lot of things has to come from you without being guided. So you need to understand what is it, right? And there's certain basics that we all know, but only thing is that we need to just implement it. To start with, we must appreciate the time that is important there. In the workplace, you have to go by what the decorum that is there. There are people from various experiences. There are people from every strata of life, from various backgrounds. So you can't be a student mentality there. You need to move to that kind of a decorum. Second is that we also have in the workplace a certain norm that is, when you work, when you're expected not to disturb others when you work, and there are meetings that are going to be held if you need to collaborate, and you have to appreciate the time of everybody. Third thing is that you may call your friend the way that you want, hi, and buddy, and things like that, but that may not work in the workplace. So there is a certain places there is a very formal requirement. They might expect you to address them as a sir or a madam. Understand that and go with it. So these are decorum that's important. There is another dynamic decorum that's now coming in because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown and post-lockdown, where work from home is the new normal. If that's the case, then you need to understand what are the decorum that you need to follow when you're working from home. For instance, when you're working from home, you can't be in casual dress. There is very good psychological reasons for that. But when you're dressed up for work, it gives you that, the enthuse to start working. Otherwise, you're still in the mode of, should I work, should I not work? That's the reason they say that please be dressed when you're working from home, and the time that is given for you to log in and the time that is required to log out, adhere to it. Don't go in for quick naps, or a quick coffee or tea. If you have to do it, there will be some timings which is meant for that. Adhere to it. When you say work from home, the simple thing that you must remember is, and you will do well if you remember this, is that your location is only different. Instead of working in an office, you're working from home. That's all. Rest everything else is the same as if you would be working in your workplace. So keep that in mind and you will do well. Communication. We feel that we've taken this for granted when we were in the academics. So you speak to your friends and you speak to your teachers, you speak to your professors. So they are a different kind of a communication. But when you come to workplace, the communication there is far more responsible, in the sense that you are expected to deliver. You have to understand what is the requirement that is expected from you. So from that point of view, communication holds a very important role. So you need to have the power of listening what is required from when a person is conversing with you, whether it's your peer, whether it is somebody who's reporting to you, or whether you are talking to your boss. Understand and listen. That's very important. Because if a boss gives you a task, and if you just assume certain things and you take things for granted. And when you're about to deliver, you will find that you're not met the expectation of the boss. So that's why it's very important for you to understand what is the expectation from you. And for that, communication is a major role. And another aspect of communication is that sometimes you need to take a stand. Sometimes you need to assert yourself. I'm not saying aggressive. I'm talking about asserting. There is a difference between being aggressive and being assertive. Okay. The third is the completion of task cycle. This completion of task cycle, what I meant is that when you're being in a task, I'm not talking just what is given in the job description, a specific task given to you, you must firstly understand the task and what is the requirement, what is the end result. Understand that. That is the first aspect of it. Second is implementation of the task. How are you going to work on the task? What are the tools that you need? What are the skill and the knowledge that you have gained? How are you going to use that to do that work? Is there something new that you need to understand or learn? Go ahead and learn. You could perhaps ask your colleagues, ask your boss himself as to what is the new thing that you need to do to arrive at the task. Having understood all that, you got to implement it. And finally, there is a deadline by which you need to submit it. Make sure the deadline is clear between you and the person who's giving you the task. Ensure that the deadline is met. So between the task being given to you and the deadline, you must plan out how the task needs to be completed. For some reason, if it is getting delayed because of reasons beyond your control, not because of laziness, not because of incompetence, but reasons beyond your control. Let's say you got sick, there is some other issue, there was a close down or a lockdown, then you need to get back to the person who's given you the task that this is where it stands and this is why it's going to take some more time, or how better can you now handle that. Take a concurrence from them and thereafter redo the deadline if required and complete it in time. And another important aspect after you do all this is to give a feedback. If somebody tells you, okay, Joe, go and do this for me, once it's done, please get back to the person, either ping them or a WhatsApp message or any way, use any form of way and say that I've done this or I've completed this. It's a great help. It's a very great way to connect with people, to know that you are responsible, that you take pride in whatever task that you do and that you are ensuring completion, because that person may have forgotten and it's a very important time. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say your boss gave you a presentation, told you, just take a look at the presentation, make sure there are no mistakes. And then because the presentation is after about a week or 10 days, so you went and worked on it, you corrected it, and then you send it to him on his email, and that's it. At the time of the presentation, the boss suddenly realizes, hey, was this checked? He doesn't know. But have you given a feedback after you send that mail, after you corrected it, saying that I have done this work, I've corrected it, there were XYZ mistakes if you want to mention it, and I've corrected all of them. That's how you enhance your performance in the work. So that's very important. And finally, the power of performance plus. A lot of people think that they need to just work for the salary that they're getting. I mean, that's a very narrow. Maybe it's okay about 2 or 3 decades back, where people used to work right from the time that they graduated till the time they retire in a company, and so they just accept whenever the promotions come. That was okay during that time. Today it's not like that. Today nobody's expecting you to retire from a company. That's why most companies don't even have a retirement policy. Right? So you may be working for maybe 3 years, 5 years, at best 10 years, 15 years, depending on how you've grown in the company and how well connected you are within the company. Okay, it's a factor of the company as well as your own will to continue in the company. So that's where it is. So if that is the reality, then your performance has to be par excellence. It has to be beyond average, beyond the mediocre. Because of some God forbid reason that a company needs to lay off people, the mediocres or the average workers are the first to be laid off. So always perform more than what is expected to you. You need to collaborate to make sure that your job is beyond the expectation of your own self and the person who's given you the task. And that's where you get true satisfaction of done a job. And that will surely get recognized. So these are some of the important aspects that I wanted to convey to you. And now I would like you to, in case you want to reach out to me for any further clarifications, this is my name, and I am available on this email. And I've also created a Vast Vibes a channel, a YouTube channel, where I have put in 2 or 3 very good videos there right now. It just started recently, so over a period of time, I would like to build on self-development there. In that, there is on sharpening and winning at interviews, some of you which will need at any point of time. Now, interviews is going to be part of your life till the time you are going to retire. And I've also shared a video on how to handle tough times which which you're going through currently because of the pandemic. And then do give a feedback. Please share that. And because it's meant for everybody, you never know whom it helps. And do subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.